One thing about me before I begin, I'm not gonna clickbait you into some bullshit video where I'm telling you one thing in the title and then I'm explaining something else in the video. If I've said in the title of this video, this is gonna do this, it will. Everything I'm applying and showing you in this video is something that I use with coaching students, right? People that I'm working with one-to-one. The difference is, and I'm gonna be completely transparent here from the get-go here, I don't wanna leave no stone unturned. The missing factor between you and them is that they have coaching available. So when they're stuck on a trade scenario, when they've got questions to ask, I'm there. That's a big difference. All right. And the reason I'm highlighting that for you is because I don't want people turning up here 2 weeks later saying, I'm not seeing success in my trading. You have to factor that in. This is all dependent on how well you know your strategy and how less broken your strategy is. Your strategy should be a working system, not one that only works in certain conditions, only works in certain scenarios, or only works on one pair. You should already be in a position where you've tested your system across multiple assets over multiple years, and you can see that it's proven effective, and that you have a technical edge. Because remember, edge isn't just one thing, it's a few things, right? It's your technical edge, your psychological edge, and a couple more things as well. But people think if they just learn a trading plan and apply it, that they'll become successful, and you'll see in this video why that's genuinely not the case and utterly wrong. So I want to factor that in for you. It's still very possible and very achievable, otherwise I wouldn't be posting this video if it didn't work. But it might take you a little bit longer because you may not have access to coaching. If you do, brilliant. Let's get into it. First things first, assuming that you've already got a strategy that works and that's proven effective and that gives you a technical edge. Obviously you're here because you're not profitable. First thing you need to understand is this, your trading plan. Most people that I've worked with have already got this wrong. So just off presumption, I'm sure that even people outside of our ecosystem have got it even more wrong. Okay, and that's what we help our traders with, to fix all these things. S1 and S2. This is your trading setup 1 and trading setup 2. Another thing that people don't, on the outside I'm talking about here, not talking about Falcon students now, because them guys know this because we teach them this. One thing that you don't get taught about is that every trading setup that you have has a lower and higher risk alternative. So LR and HR. And I'll explain what that means now. Let's say you've got a value area here on the daily, and I'm giving you an example based on my trading system. Price comes in, sells off, gives you a continuation here, leaves a gap. Versus it breaks the high, comes in, and gives you a continuation. This, based on the data that I've collected, is higher in risk, and this is lower in risk. Why? Because from the data that we've seen, is that when there's a near miss, as to what we call it, or a gap here, price has a much higher likelihood of actually coming back up and filling that area. Versus if it's already broken the high or tapped into the high, it's got a much higher chance of selling off. So based on that logic and that data, one is higher in risk, one is lower in risk that you can see. But this might be an example of setup 1. Both of them are the same setup, but they position differently. So that changes the risk on the setup, which means that changes the efficacy, how often it plays out, how much it works, right? I'm trying to simplify it down here for you. This might not work 5 out of 10 times versus this might work 8 out of 10 times, right? So you're following. Let me just erase all of that. So that's one thing you have to understand. Now you need to basically get down what criteria or what scenario or what positioning, whatever it is for your system, makes trade setup 1 in this case lower in risk, and what would make it higher in risk. The same for trade setup 2. If you've got 4, 5, 6 different setups to play with, obviously you've got a bit more work to do there. If you also don't know how to categorize either setup as lower risk or higher risk, that's for 2 reasons. Number 1, your system's flawed. And number 2, you don't know your system well enough. So what I would suggest, if you've got somebody to ask, like a coach or a mentor or someone, who can help explain to you, this is what makes it lower risk, this is what makes it higher risk, great. If you've not even got access to that, then there's something that needs to be fixed there, doesn't it? And that was my point in the beginning. Right, so that's number 1. Number 2, and this is a protocol I put my coaching students through, and again, I want to reiterate, they have me alongside. So this makes it way different to what it would be if you had no one alongside you. But again, it still works. So the protocol is this, consists of 2 stages, stage 1 and stage 2. Now, in stage 1, this is, in fact, let me just erase this because I want to call it something before I begin. This is actually called trait building. Now, in trading, excuse the handwriting, there's one trait that ultimately defines all, and that's what? It's discipline. Discipline to do the right things, of course. Emotional control, which is fundamentally at the core of every successful trader, emotional control That's a byproduct of discipline. It's a form of discipline. To be emotionally controlled, you have to have discipline. You can't have no discipline and be emotionally controlled. So that's a trait, that is a side effect of having discipline. All of this and this, which is again is a fundamental core of every successful trader, has to be built in this protocol. So stage one is what? For 4 weeks, and this is 4 consecutive weeks. If there's no trades in that trading week, let's say this trading week, there's no trades, that week doesn't count. Or if you took a trade in that week where it didn't meet your plan, then you have to restart this cycle again. What is this cycle about? It's 4 weeks of getting every single trade that you take has to meet your plan. Every single trade. You don't bother about what quality the trade is. Don't bother about what risk level the trade is. What probability, none of that. Just focus on every trade that I take for 4 consecutive active trading weeks, which means there had to have been trades taken in that week. Every single one of them has to meet your plan. Like I said, if there's a week where you take a trade, doesn't meet your plan, you restart this cycle again. You have to get 4 weeks in a row of doing that. Now, you will lose money in this period because, like I said, your only focus is just taking trades that meet the plan. And as I discussed above here, if all you're doing is trying to follow your plan, you're going to lose money. This is why I see all this nonsense on the internet. All you got to do is follow your trading plan and get an edge and blah, 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 blah. That's not how you make money. Following your trading plan is not going to get you successful. It's how you follow it. It's understanding risk, which I'm going to go into in a second. Let's go down here. But the reason you do this stage one is just to build a foundation of discipline. That's what it's there for. Because without a foundation, if you build a house on weak foundations, a small gust of wind's going to knock it down. If you don't have these foundations built and you start making money, guess what? You're not going to have any strong emotional foundations. And you'll tumble yourself back down into drawdown and eventually giving your capital away, which most of you have already experienced most likely. So this is foundation building, stage one. Stage two is the exact same thing, but you're going to be taking low risk trades only. So all trades have to meet your plan, but they also have to be low in risk. And you should know by now what that is, or what setups are low in risk based on your trading plan, like I mentioned above. Same principles apply. If there's a trade in the week that you took that was high in risk, you restart this cycle again. If it was invalid, you start the cycle again, etc. This is where I would apply this on capital with 0.25% risk over here for the first 2 trading weeks. Then you can go up to a fixed 0.5% risk. This is all you need to know right now. There's a few of the details, but I'm going to miss them out in this video because this is all you fundamentally need to know. Why is this all crucially important? Well, first and foremost, when you're doing your end of day, which you should be, an end of week review, what should they entail? Well, your end of day review should solely be around, and people start writing storybooks here. It should just be a few lines or a paragraph at most as to how your day went. Now, you're not writing a day diary, I woke up this morning, I didn't feel too great. No, you're writing down, was there any trades taken today? No. Did I miss any trades today? No. Did I do everything right then today? Yes, I did. Or the opposite, was there any trades? Yes, there was. Should I have taken that trade? No. Why? Well, depending on what stage you're in the protocol, the trade was either invalid or here it was high in risk. So I shouldn't have taken it. Depends where you're at, where you're positioned. Why did I do that? And then you talk about it over here. Okay, why did it happen? Was it because you have impulsivity? And if so, where does that stem from? Then you can start fixing it, because what's going to happen throughout these 2 stages, you're going to figure out, okay, throughout these 2 stages over here, you're going to figure out multiple different reasons and flaws as to why you're not where you want to be. For example, you might figure out you're super hesitant in certain scenarios, or that you just struggle to follow a plan. Well, why is that? Is it because the plan is too complex? I'm going to write that again. Apologies. Is it because the plan is too complex? Or is it because you're emotional? 2 reasons. It can't be anything else. If the plan's too complex, how can you simplify it? You should know that based on how you trade. And if you don't, again, you're either trading a broken system or you don't know your system well enough. Are you emotional? If yes, how do you fix that? Link below. Click it. Invest the money. Right? Fix your mind. It's easy. I'm laying it on a plate for you. Right? So there's no excuse. So you can fix that. We've got all the tools and resources there for you in our performance program. So what I've done here is give you no excuse, no reason to sit there and think, I'm not where I need to be and I don't know why. You should know exactly why you're not where you want to be after going through this. So you figure out all these traits about yourself throughout these two stages, whether you know your system well enough, whether you don't, what part you need to do more work on. Do you need to understand value areas or positioning or like volume more, whatever, however you trade, obviously that's different for everybody. Or are you just super emotional, you've got to fix that. You know, so end of day review, okay, talk about that. End of week will be the summarization of the following: total trades taken, how many met your plan, and also the risk level of each trade. So like I said, if you're in stage 2, you shouldn't be taking higher risk trades, strictly lower risk trades. And if you got involved in higher risk positions, what was the root of it? So this is the outcome. And let's presume this outcome here is representative of an outcome you're not happy with. For example, you got involved in a higher risk trade emotionally. Your sole solitary purpose now is to figure out where that came from. If you got involved in a higher risk trade because of, I'm going to put TD here for technical deficiency, because you didn't understand that scenario, you took the trade, and then on the weekend analysis or self-review, you realized I shouldn't have taken that trade because of this, and this technical reason that I didn't notice in the moment. So it might have been a technical deficiency, but was it an emotional thing causing that? Or if it wasn't, was it just something that you just weren't switched on or you weren't sharp enough? So what I'm trying to highlight for you is what your review process should be like. Now, how do you actually get successful? It's the whole point of this video. When you can get to a point where you're consistently taking trades, where all of the trades that you take meet your plan and you've already built the foundations there. There's a reason I picked 4 weeks through data and through working with people. 4 weeks is exactly what it takes, roughly, to build a trading habit. 3 weeks isn't enough, 2 weeks is not enough. 4 weeks is a perfect sweet spot to build a trading habit, which means if you get that consistently done for 4 weeks, rest assured, you'll be in a position where you've got a very good habit of following your plan. So if all the trades that you take from there on outwards meet your plan, and you can correctly balance the risk on all these trades, and you find your sweet spot with that over time, of course, there's no way on earth you can't be profitable. You figure out if your reasons are emotional through this process, through this protocol that I've given, or you figure out if they're technical. Because think about it, if you know your plan really well, but you struggle to be disciplined to follow it, or you struggle to be patient enough to wait for lower risk trades when you should do, then is it a technical factor or is it an emotional factor? So use this as a general blueprint or a guideline. Like I said, the guys that I'm working with that have done this properly, that have really put in their all, and they'll do things like, for example, for 3 months, they'll take trades and they'll collect any trades that they were confused on, missed positions, anything. They'll book a coaching call in again. We'll go through those trades, iron out all the different kinks, then they'll move forward a new trader. Sometimes I give this to people the first time they jump on a coaching call. I give them the protocol to follow, and I let them be for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, let them find their feet. Then they come back with even more data to work with on themselves. Then we refine, and it's like a chiseling process. So that's the benefit they have with coaching. Again, if you have a coach, I'd highly recommend you reach out and you show them this, all right? If they vibe with it, which I don't see why not, start a protocol like this. It genuinely works. It's what's getting people trading high 6 figures and close to 7 figures. It's why literally this time in Dubai, when you see that we're there in less than a month's time, you'll see me have conversations with the very people that I'm talking about in this video, and we'll discuss this very thing and how it's got them to trading high 6 figures. It's fantastic. It's proven to work. And again, I hope this helps you simplify your trading as well. A lot of people overcomplicate it out there. It shouldn't be as complicated as people make it. That is trading.